If something is slightly sexist, it should be banned.
No,
Is that what you're saying?
Elon Musk destroyed BBC journalist after avoiding questions. Elon Musk, the enigmatic billionaire and CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, and Twitter, is no stranger to controversy and headlines. In an interview with the BBC journalist James Clayton, Musk found himself in the hot seat, tackling challenging questions about mass layoffs, hate speech, and disinformation on Twitter. What started as a straightforward interview quickly became tense as Musk skillfully avoided the journalist's tough questions.
Do you think you prioritize freedom of speech over misinformation and hate speech?
When the BBC journalist confronted Elon Musk about whether he prioritizes freedom of speech over combating misinformation and hate speech on Twitter, Musk skillfully sidestepped a direct response. Instead, he posed a provocative counter-question. Well, you know, who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC? This unexpected reply shifted the dynamic of the conversation. By challenging the journalist's authority to judge what constitutes misinformation, Musk swiftly turned the spotlight back onto the media itself. When the BBC journalist pressed Elon Musk more, pointing out that as the owner of Twitter, he holds the role of overseeing the platform and consequently is accountable for combating problems of misinformation and hate speech, Musk offered another intriguing reply. Yes, I'm saying, who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information? The point at which you say that there is, this is misinformed, like who is going to decide that? Musk's response highlighted the continuing discussion about the responsibility of social media platforms in regulating content. His reply indicated that identifying what is factual or not is difficult and full of obstacles, particularly in a time when data can be easily distorted or misrepresented.
Yeah, so the point I'm trying to make is the BBC itself has, at times, published things that are false. Do you agree that that has occurred?
The journalist answered, I'm quite sure the BBC have said things before that turn out to not be true. It's whatever it is, 100-year history, I'm quite sure. Elon Musk replied, yes, even if you aspire to be accurate, there are times when you will not be. The discussion carried on, turning attention to regulating hate speech on Twitter. The journalist highlighted that a lot of individuals believe there aren't enough resources to adequately supervise and manage harmful content, specifically hate speech. This critique is often aimed at social media platforms, which are commonly viewed as ill-prepared to manage the amount and intricacy of moderating such content. Elon Musk asked him a question, what hate speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter, right? Do you see a rise in hate speech? Just a personal anecdote? I don't. When asked to provide any examples of hate speech on Twitter, the journalist visibly hesitated and admitted that he no longer uses the platform's feed. He explained that he doesn't particularly like it anymore. The feed he was referring to was Twitter's For You feature, a new addition that curates content based on users' interests and interactions. This feature, along with several other changes, was rolled out as part of Elon Musk's overhaul of the platform since his acquisition. Personally, my For You, I would see I get more of that kind of content, yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of Twitter, but personally, I would say I would see more hateful content in that. The journalist revealed that he finds the content on the platform unappealing, but he didn't specify whether it's due to hateful content or something else. When pressed about what he considers to be hateful content, he replied, this content that will solicit a reaction may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things. Musk asked, so you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned? The journalist quickly pointed out, no, I am not saying anything. When Elon Musk asked the journalist to provide an example of hateful content he had encountered on Twitter since Musk's acquisition of the platform, the journalist was unable to cite a single instance. Despite the probing question, he could not point to any specific examples of hateful speech, leaving the conversation in an awkward silence. I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. I'm asking for specific examples, and you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned? To defuse the situation and shift to the next topic, the journalist attempted to clarify his earlier remarks. He explained that he was referring to the content he encounters on his feed and claimed that, according to him, the amount of hateful content has increased since Elon Musk took over Twitter. Despite his claim, he did not provide concrete examples or details to support this assertion. However, Elon Musk wasn't ready to let the issue drop. He reiterated his point, questioning the journalist again on his claim about seeing hateful content without being able to name a single example. You can't name a single example, not even one. In response, the journalist admitted uncertainty, saying he wasn't sure if he had actually used the For You feed on Twitter Twitter in the past 3 or 4 weeks. Despite his lack of recent engagement with the feed, he stated that he had been actively using the platform for 6 months since Musk's takeover, but Elon Musk continued, "But then how do you see the hateful content?" He pointed out that given the journalist's 6 months of using the platform since Musk's takeover, he must have come across at least one tweet with hateful content. Musk insisted that all he was asking for was a single example of such content, but the journalist was unable to provide one. "Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you are talking about, sir, because you cannot give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. You claim that hateful content is high. That is false. You just lied." When Elon Musk pressed the journalist to provide an example of hateful content on Twitter, the journalist struggled and could not cite a single instance. The tension mounted as Musk insisted on specifics. To defend his claim, the journalist stated that various organizations have reported an increase in hateful content on Twitter. He noted that whether or not this content appears on his personal feed, there are consistent reports from these organizations about its rise. Additionally, he mentioned that in strategic dialogues on the matter within the UK, people often express concerns about the same issue. Now, what I claim was there are many organizations that say that that kind of information is on the rise. Despite these claims, Musk highlighted that given the journalist's 6 months of experience with the platform since Musk's takeover, he should have encountered at least one example of such content. Elon Musk still stood his ground and was not the one to be moved away from his viewpoint. He continuously asked the journalist for an example. "Look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I am literally asking for a single example and you can't give one. You literally said you experienced more hateful content and then couldn't name a single example. That's absurd." Finally, the journalist admitted that he could not provide an exact example of hateful content and conceded that he had not used the feed in the past 3 to 4 weeks. He quickly shifted to the next topic to move the discussion along, leaving the debate unresolved. The new topic of discussion was the COVID misinformation. The journalist said that Musk had changed the COVID misinformation. Musk replied in a similar manner by asking a counter question, "Has BBC changed the COVID misinformation?" The journalist replied by saying that BBC is not responsible with setting rules on Twitter. It's in Elon's hands. But Elon again said that he was talking about the BBC's misinformation about COVID. The journalist asked, "I'm literally asking you about the COVID misinformation labels. There used to be a policy and then it disappeared. Why do that?" Elon simply replied, "COVID is no longer an issue." He asked the journalist a question. "Does the BBC hold itself at all responsible for misinformation regarding masking and side effects of vaccinations and not reporting on that at all? And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change the editorial policy? Are you aware of that?" The journalist clarified that this interview was not about BBC, and he was not a representative of the BBC editorial policy. And the interview moved further. As the interview concluded, Musk's firm stance and incisive questioning left a lasting impression, raising important questions about the nature of content moderation and the responsibilities of both tech giants and traditional media. How can we balance free speech with the need to combat misinformation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for videos on the hottest debates and current issues.